Well, folks, we made it to season 7. Welcome to the Vulnerability Time podcast. I am your host, Josias Abriel, and published author. Speaking of published author, before the episode starts, make sure to go check out my books. They're available on Amazon, and the link is in the episode description below. Go ahead, get you some healing. One's a poetry book about overcoming pain and trauma and stuff like that, and then the other one's a self-awareness interactive journal notebook. So get you some healing. You're worth it. Another thing that you're worth all the love in the world. You're worth all the healing in the world, and I'm glad that you're here with us today to heal together. You are loved, you are valuable. This is your sign. Alrighty, enjoy the episode. Bye, folks. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Vulnerability Time, Season 8. It's great to be here in Season 8. With us today, folks, we have Christian. Before we get into our topics, Christian, welcome to the Vulnerability Time podcast. Today, folks, we'll be talking about the power of vulnerability, doing relationships consciously, and stepping into power. So we'll be starting off with those topics. But first, Christian, let us get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about you, any credentials, any work that you do, whatever you want to share. Let us get to know Christian.
Hey, Josias. First of all, thanks. Thanks for having me on your show. Um, and it's such an important topic to be speaking about vulnerability. Um, well, I was born in Cuba, so I lived in a communist country for the first 10 years of my life. Came to the US when I was 10. Family in Miami. Went to high school there, spent some time in 20 years in Northern California. Currently based in Colorado in Aspen. And I've been doing this kind of transformational work for a long time, possibly longer that you've been alive, Josias.
Yes. Wow. Wow. So what got you started into like transformational work? Tell us more about that.
I think I've always had the inclination and the skill
Mm,
set. My dad was a psychiatrist. And I went to school in psychology. I thought I was going to get a PhD until I discovered breath work, and then I jumped tracks. I never went for the PhD. But I was the type of kid that even when I was young, older people would come to me for advice, and I think I always had that inclination, that sense of calling, a mission, even,
mm,
which I translated in different ways at different points. Initially, I thought I was going to be a priest. I come out of a very Catholic environment. Then I realized that religion didn't have enough room for me. So, like many of us, I threw the baby out with the baptismal water.
mm,
And then I thought I was going to express it through psychology, but then I realized that at least the way when I was going to school, it completely ignored the whole spiritual aspect of being
mm,
human, which to me was just as ludicrous, to ignore
mhm,
a whole part of us like sexuality,
mm,
like many of us try to run away from,
mhm,
and not deal with, as it is to ignore spirituality. As far as I'm concerned, it's just part of being human.
right.
And so I started looking eastward. I started looking into spiritual traditions from the East, Buddhism, Hinduism. I looked into the indigenous traditions. And so what I teach today is kind of a hybrid between what I learned, concepts from and skills from psychology,
Mm.
and blend it into a very inclusive, broad approach to spirituality.
I love that. I love that. So, what got you with the? Because first off, I agree with everything you were saying. So I noticed, and I'm so glad that have this. How about this? I'm very grateful that you're recognizing and emphasizing that the spirituality aspect, as it, you know, is within us as human beings. W-
Hmm.
what s- what like got you to recognize like the spirituality? Has that always just been a thing, or did a big life event happen? Was there like an awakening? What happened? Was it just always
Well,
like that?
it's always been a thing, although
Mm,
it's really evolved how I
right.
connected with
Right.
that. Like I said, I
Mm,
came out of a very Catholic
mhm,
environment. I'm one of 9 kids,
mhm,
so further evidence that the Catholic roulette is not very effective.
mhm,
Um, but then, then when I realized that I needed more, that a larger container that wasn't limited, that wasn't what to me was very limiting and judgmental,
mhm,
um, of me, especially as a gay man.
mhm,
Um, and so, there was part of me that wanted to serve God as I understood it then,
mhm,
and yet being told by the religion in which I was raised that I was gonna burn in hell for eternity, that I was an
mhm,
abomination in the eyes of God.
mhm,
So my evolution of spirituality has changed a lot. Like
mhm,
if we're talking about, like I have a lot of friends who will tell me, "Oh, I'm an atheist," and I say, "Well, if we're talking about uh, an old man and with long white hair and cherubs, little angels floating around him and micromanaging everybody's lives and
mhm,
busybody, then I'm an atheist too.
mhm,
Um, so my concept of spirituality has really evolved,
mhm,
and I don't believe in abominations. But if I were,
mhm,
I think that what humanity has done and so many of us have done in terms of externalizing the sacred, like how much further could we have placed the sacred? To
mhm,
me, that's an abomination because
mhm,
the way that I relate to the sacred today is we're all a part of that. We're all an expression of that.
mhm. Yes,
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful. Yes, yeah. Well, folks listening, y'all know I've already died before when I was 15. And fun fact, hell's not real. So, folks listening, you ain't got nothing to worry about. Hell is a very man-made construct, very well, the more the literal place, physical place of hell is very man-made construct. Very, because like when you die, you're not. No one goes to hell. Hell's yeah, no, yeah, folks.
Yeah,
You
yeah. I don't believe in a punitive God. I mean,
right,
you know,
exactly,
I just don't believe that. And
exactly.
and I think hell or heaven are right here, right now, in our inside of our heads,
The
inside of our hearts.
vibrations,
Yeah.
right, right, exactly. The vibrations. Yes, yes. Um. Hey, yes. Okay, so Christian. Let's jump into okay, so we got the power of vulnerability, we got doing relationships consciously, and we got stepping into power. I would love to hear why those topics and the journey behind your journey behind those with those. Where should we start first? What best aligns with you to start first?
Well, if we're gonna go by the order of the books in which I've released them, we'll do power first and then relationships.
Okay, so let's start there. The power of vulnerability. Why that topic, and what's your story with that?
Well, and it's really interesting because I'm a very unlikely person to be speaking about personal empowerment. Like I know the opposite. Like my adolescence was one long depression. I know self doubt. I know self hatred even.
Mm,
And yet, if you flash forward to today, look at my life, and for many years now, no matter what happens in my life, no matter the details, the circumstances, whether a relationship works out or it doesn't, whether a project succeeds or it fails, in quotes, never, ever, 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 ever do I question my sense of self. Like my self worth is established and unshakable. And that's why I know if that can happen in me, it can happen in anybody.
mm,
So the power conversation was integral because I think that most of us give away our power. And we have a confused, ambivalent relationship to power. So, and we've been conditioned to believe that power is a bad thing, a negative thing. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And what good person wants to be corrupted? And then, how many times have we witnessed power being abused? So we have those connections, those associations with power, and what they didn't tell us, though, Josias, was that Lord Acton, when he was speaking about the corrupting power of influence of power, he was speaking specifically about political power, not the personal power that we're talking about here. So what happens tragically is that we, because of the conditioning, because we're been so conditioned to be afraid of the emotions, we hate confrontation. When you put all that into a mix, we end up giving our power away, our innate, inherent power that no one can give to us, no one can take away. We're the only ones who give it away. And to me, the saddest part of the whole thing is the reasons for which we give it away. Like we settle for an illusion of acceptance. We settle for crumbs of pseudo love.
Mhm.
Um, and how many times have we overridden our dreams, our desires, our preferences because of that? So we end up settling for less. Um, and again, because of this tragic misunderstanding about what power is. And so think about a Gandhi or a Gandalf if you're into the Lord of the Rings. In their simple monastic robes, their sandal feet, from looking at them, you would never know how much power they hold
Mhm.
until it's necessary. And then get out of the way. Um, and that's the kind of power that is it's inside each one of us that doesn't need to be given, and that no one can take it away from us. And again, so it behooves us to begin to understand that there are different kinds of power and that there is a way that we can step into our own power in a way that's not hierarchical, that's not about fear, about domination, about force, that doesn't require that we push anybody down or step on their neck in order for us to feel powerful.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful. How mm, how did you how did you learn this for yourself? Like what was your journey yourself like learning relearning that like your power? That makes
I
sense.
think it all begins within, right? By getting to know ourselves and why we do the things we do and what patterns are running our relationships, tragically mostly from the unconscious. Like why do we do what we do, and why do certain people or certain situations trigger us when in your case it might not even bother you?
Mhm.
So for me it's like that journey began by understanding, like looking within and asking the hard questions about myself and why am I here, and then beginning to realize the stronger that our sense of self becomes,
Mhm.
then the less that we give our power away, and the less that the less that we require any kind of external validation from anybody. And so to me, that's the journey. It's one of self acceptance, which then leads to self love.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, it was a long journey, but so worthwhile.
Mhm. How long did it take? Because I know it can be discouraging for many, to, uh, for example, for me, I mean, I'm happy where I'm at now, and that doesn't mean that I'm not growing and I don't want to grow. I'm very grateful for where I'm at now, because who I was 10 years ago, not the same person. I'm more healed, and who I was a year ago, not the same person. So, but looking at the time that it took to get to here, you know, um, there have been moments where, I was discouraged because I felt like it was taking too long, or I felt like I put all this time into it and I'm not where I thought I hate using the word should, but at that time, that's what I was thinking, not where I should be, not where, yeah. And so I was wondering, like, how long did it take you? Did you have moments of like, discouragement, um, like in your journey, in your process to
Yeah,
finding
I mean,
this?
of course, there have been many ups and downs in my
Mhm.
process. I don't think I ever like once I started out on this conscious journey of transformation
Mm,
and awake remembering and all that kind of stuff, I've never questioned it.
right.
I think where we get into trouble in what you're talking about is that as a society we're so result focused,
Mm,
and to me, what if we enjoyed the journey more
mm,
rather than get so obsessed about the destination? And what is the destination anyway? I think the way that you were speaking about it, where as long as growth is happening, then we're good,
mm,
right? To me, the problem is when we get stagnant, when we get stagnated. Um, and in fact, that's one of the measures of, people will ask me because they know that I do work on relationships, and this last book is on relationships. And they'll ask me, well, how long do we stay? Um, because we can't go by the ups and the downs because every relationship is going to go through peaks and valleys.
mhm,
And sometimes in the valleys when we're struggling, good stuff is happening. Like we're both growing. We're both becoming more than we were before. We're working stuff out. And that's good. So for me, then that's my measure. Like how long to stay is as long as growth is happening.
Gotcha, gotcha. So you mentioned, um, and I could have done this at the beginning, but I'm glad that you brought it up. Um, you mentioned books that you've released, and you said the first book with power, and the next was the power was first before relationships. Can you tell us a little bit about that book? Um, because I want folks to be able to go, check your work out, and they want to read it. But could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and it's actually my very first book came out about 20 years ago, and it's titled Coming Out Spiritually. This last book that just came out very recently, a couple of weeks ago, it's called Conscious Love Transforming Our Relationship to Relationships. So, transforming the way that we even approach relationships.
Mm,
Because, for example, so part of what I do in the book is I outline 10 different challenges that where we get snagged in relationships. And I've been doing this kind of work for over 30 years now. Work with very successful people all over the world. Um, and by far, no matter how much work, how many retreats, how many books, how much therapy they've done, meditation practitioners, by far where most of us get snagged, where most of us get challenged by is in our relationships. And the teachings can apply to all relationships, but I focus specifically in intimate romantic ones. Um, and I think, I mean, that totally relates to vulnerability because it is in those relationships where most of us really let our guard down. We allow ourselves to be seen the most. Like who gets our goat? Who triggers us? Family, right? Or the closer they are, the more the possibility. Siblings, parents, kids, and our partners, our spouses. That's where most of us are likely to get triggered. And I think it's because of that, because we've allowed ourselves to be seen more than we have in other like work professional colleague relationships. So there's more at stake. Um, and we've all been conditioned again, especially men, that to be vulnerable is weakness, right? So we've got this misunderstanding of what it means to be a man. I mean, everybody does that, but men in particular, because the conditioning started at a young age. Little boys don't cry, right? And very faulty assumptions implicit in that, like that only little girls cry because girls are weak. It's like, wait a minute, you want to talk courage, power, resilience? Let's talk about the power of creativity that resides in a female body.
mhm,
And beyond that, the emotions aren't weakness and they're not strength. They're just energies
mhm,
that course through our body.
mhm,
We are the ones that give it meaning that is optional. And so we've gotten this twisted definition of what it means to be a man, and you have to walk around like this robot, uncaring, unfeeling robot. And so then no wonder we have relationship stuff. Who wants to be in relationship with a robot?
right.
Um, and we think that to have emotions, to show our heart is weakness, where to me it's the opposite way around.
Mhm.
To have such a strong sense of self that we can allow ourselves to be seen, where I can show you my heart, that I can tell you, hey, you know what you did the other night was kind of hurtful. That's vulnerability, and it's incredibly powerful. That's actually where the power lies.
Yeah.
It's in vulnerability.
Yes. Talk to us about, because that was very beautiful. You mentioned so the aspect of doing relationships consciously. Would you say, and I want to know like your thoughts and just your journey with it, or anything that you want to share with it. But doing relationships consciously, would you say that that does require vulnerability? And
Without a doubt.
yeah, and how
And
important is vulnerability to doing relationships consciously? Like, what does that what does that mean?
it's critical. It's
Hmm.
critically important. Because as long as we have that layer of protection,
Hmm.
and the facades that we put on, and that robotic way of approaching life, it's
Hmm.
like it's not going to work. It
Right.
can't work. So let's zoom out a little bit and talk about what it means to do a relationship consciously. If we're approaching a relationship hoping that it's going to complete us, that it's going to validate our worth, that you are going to make me happy, forget it, right? There isn't anybody out there who's gonna make us happy, and it's not their job to. So how unfair to put that weight of that responsibility, "You are gonna make me happy,"
Hmm.
or to put that weight on the relationship. It's a lot it's a big responsibility. So those are not gonna end well.
Hmm.
So when we approach a relationship consciously, it means that we know that only we are responsible for our happiness. There's a lot of benefits and challenges that come from being in a relationship, and what a blessing it is to have a partner who gets us, who meets us where we are, in which we can see each other as mirrors, and in which we can both use the container of the relationship to speed up our growth, our own individual growth. Because the truth is, and this is part of what it means to do a relationship consciously, in an unconscious relationship, we point the finger. You do this. You never do that. You always do this. Right? It's like we're always focused over there. So growth is very difficult to come by.
Hmm.
So if we use the relationship consciously, which means that we all have blind spots. And
Hmm.
so I'm never going to see some of my stuff, right? If I look in the mirror in front of me, it's behind me. If I turn my head and look at the mirror to my left, now it's in the other direction. But boy, can I see that stuff
Hmm.
in my partner, in you. And so it's a safe bet, right? In a conscious relationship, that if it's there, it's here. And the more whatever they do gets our trigger, gets our goat, the clearer that we're also doing that in some way.
Hmm.
And the details could be completely different. Like, let me tell you this story. Some years ago, I was dating somebody when I was living in Miami, and I just ended a 7-year relationship. I knew this person wasn't a match in terms of like a long-term relationship, in terms of where we were in life, in terms of what we wanted from life, the values, but it worked for what it was. Nobody wanted more than that. Sex was great. And we had a good time together. And at that point, that's all either one of us wanted. But suddenly it disappeared. Like, it happened a couple of times. No, didn't show up. No message. No text. No email. No call. Nothing. Like, I didn't get it. I was focused over there. It's like, I don't wonder what's going on. Called him at work and wasn't there. So now, did he get fired? Is it drugs? Is it alcohol? I didn't get it. So I had to subconsciously, of course, create a different situation. So I was flying to New York, and I was trying to set up a meeting with a literary agent that I'd been working with. And she usually was great about communication. She'd get back to me within 24, at most 48 hours. A week later, I haven't heard from her. That got my attention, right? Two people, different walks of life, kind of doing the same thing, right? So because it's a blind spot, I focused out there first, right? What are they doing, right? They're not showing up. They're not doing what they said they would do. They're not keeping their word, they're not keeping their agreements, so they're out of integrity. Clear, right? I can see it there. Turning that mirror around and asking myself, how do I do that?
Mhm.
And I was like, crap, I have to do that work again. It took me a few days because I started out focused on my relationships. Am I showing up? Yeah. Am I doing what I said I was going to do? Yes. Am I keeping my word? Yes. And then it hit me, Josiah's, in relationship to my writing. How many times had I said to myself, nobody else was in on this, I'm going to finish that chapter by such and such a date. Did I do it? No. I was doing other stuff. I was doing retreats, doing, seeing clients, coaching, all that kind of stuff, but I wasn't showing up for my writing.
Mhm.
I wasn't keeping my agreements with myself in that one area of life, right? So same stuff, same crap, just different details. So it can be that subtle. And here's the funny thing about how this works. Within an hour of me connecting those dots, of me having that insight, they both called. So no longer that I need to create external drama to for me to see that. It's like, wait a minute, dude, you're not showing up for your writing. Make a choice, right? Because I was doing this unconsciously. I could say, you know what? I'm not gonna finish this book. I'm not enjoying the process or whatever. I could renegotiate the deadline with myself. I didn't do anything of that. I was just trying to go by and not showing up for my writing, for myself.
Uh-oh. Sorry, folks. Little technical difficulty. I'll be back in 1 second. Just kidding. Christian's back. A little
Yeah.
technical difficulty, Christian. Continue.
How far did I get?
It literally just cut out. It only cut out for like 2 seconds.
Oh, okay. Okay, then we're
Yes.
good. Yeah, I
Yes.
had I had completed that thought.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Interesting. So it kind of was like, you know how they say a lot of the times our interactions can be like mirrors. That what you're
absolutely.
talking about? Okay. Gotcha.
Absolutely, and
Gotcha.
especially, yeah, like some I forget who said, but that like it's all a movie and we're the lead star in our own movie,
Mhm.
and so everybody else, every situation is always reflecting aspects of ourselves back to us.
Mhm.
And that's what it means to live consciously. So rather than just projecting, rather than just reacting to somebody else's whatever they said or did, it's like, okay, like doing consciously would say, ouch, that hurt. And then, but then do the deeper work, like try to mine the most out of it, to get the most out of that experience. Why did it hurt? Right? What did it trigger? What were the feelings? Because if I scratch under the surface, it's going to be something deeper. Somebody shows up late, 20 minutes late, the initial response might be anger, right? It's like, or it's like, how dare they? Who do they think they are? They're valuing their schedule more than my schedule. But if I dig under there, what I'm really feeling is deeper than anger, right? I'm feeling not respected. I'm feeling not valued. I'm feeling not seen. And that's a deeper wound than my friend showing up late for lunch. That's been around longer than that. So that's what it means to live consciously or to do relationships consciously, rather than just reacting or say, oh, I'm never going to have lunch with him again. Um, that then we don't have the opportunity for growth. But if we do the work of like, all right, that hurt. What's going on? What am I
Mhm.
really feeling?
Yeah.
Then we can do something about it.
Mm. Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So the whole the living when living and doing consciously, would you say that that is a um something that you kind of like learn over time?
I think there's a choice,
Mm.
right? I think you can learn by observing others, but nobody can do it for us.
Mhm.
And I think it is a practice, definitely a practice, but it becomes second nature, right? That's the good news. It's not going to happen overnight, but the more presently, the more present that we are to ourselves and to our lives, eventually just becomes second nature. And it's almost like, and it doesn't mean that we're removing ourselves from being in relationship. It's more like a both and. Like you're having your interaction with in relationship and you're observing yourself at the same time, going through that stuff, whether it's at home or at work or whatever. It's a dual kind of a dual experience.
Right. Interesting. Yes, yes. That's wow. I love that. I'm loving the perspectives that you are giving. I love it. I agree with them.
Mhm.
1000% I agree with them. Um, so how like so have you seen in your life like living consciously has like from your personal experience like you living consciously how has that like benefited like your relationships so like yes like with in us like we it helps us to grow and learn but how have you seen that also help um the other like individual.
Yeah, so I mean, the other partner?
Yes, the other partner,
So
sorry.
yeah, so, I mean, yeah, because it's especially when both partners are in on it.
Okay,
Right?
right, right.
Like, you can do this unilaterally, like, the other partner is not into the spiritual stuff, and they don't but there's enough of it that works, right? Enough of the relationship works, maybe you cohabitate well together, you co-parent well together, you travel well together, you stimulate, conversation and laugh together, and whatever the values are that are important for you in relationship. Sex is great, hopefully. So then there's enough of it that works that we might say, okay, then I'm gonna spend all the time, all the energy, all the resources that I would otherwise be spending looking for the one. I'm gonna focus that on my own transformation. Then the next level up, which is what feeds me with the level of relationship that I want to play at, is where both partners are doing that. Both partners are in on it, and both partners have agreed that they're going to use that container, the push and pull, the ups and downs of any relationship, to speed up our individual growth. Like so, there's a commitment to my growth, to your growth, and to the growth of the relationship itself.
Yes.
It's almost like three entities in
Mm,
the relationship.
wow.
And so an example of that,
Yes.
of the impact it has, I was working with a client for years, incredibly successful woman, like vice president of a multinational, and real vice president, not like a bank vice president that there's one at every branch. Um, but in her personal life, she had never really had a relationship. Not really. And so we started doing some work, and she did a couple of my retreats. She was doing breath work, and in one of those breath work sessions, she had recovered a memory that she had been sexually abused by by one of her doctors when she was a kid. Um, and so no wonder, right? Like talk
Yeah.
about vulnerability and lack thereof. Like she had closed off in her heart to trusting men. Um, and so with that heart closed, like, she was sabotaging the relationships before they even got started. And we, most of us have done that, right? We sabotage our relationships by attracting people, by falling for people who are not a match, who are not available. They're already with somebody else. They live on the other side of the world, or maybe they're just not there. So subconsciously, we're sabotaging. We're ensuring that it's not going to work out because we're afraid of getting hurt or being cheated on or whatever the fear is, the underlying fear. Um, but it's not a good strategy because we end up ensuring the very same thing we're trying to avoid. We're going to end up alone. So, long story short, she had this revelation on Sunday. On Tuesday, she was having lunch with a friend, and she goes, "Oh, I don't know why I hadn't connected these dots, why I hadn't figured this out before. But you need to meet so and so. You need to meet my friend." Long story short, 2 years later, I married them, and they're still beautifully together. So there's a quote from the Course in Miracles that says, "It's not our job to look for love, but to look within ourselves for the obstacles to love." If we clear those obstacles, like how are we blocking love? Um, then love will come and get us. Love will find us. We just got to like remove and become aware of first what's in the way. What's keeping love at bay.
Wow, that's
Hmm.
beautiful. That's beautiful. Never heard that perspective. Never heard that statement before. So I love that statement. That's very, 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 very wise, very
Yes.
profound.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you're, sharing that. Cause I feel like, you know, these last 2 months, these next coming last 2 months, so folks, currently it's July 29th. And this episode will be released tonight, Christian.
Okay. Good
Um,
to know.
yes, yes, yes. I love it. I think it needs to be out there now. Yeah, we're all on this ride together to heal and to learn and to love and grow, all that good stuff. And so,
True.
um, I might possibly have in the whole realm of vulnerability time, I possibly have 2 months left to live. And so, yeah,
What?
I'm fine. I already died before when I was 15, so this is nothing to me. I mean, I'm very nonchalant about it, and so I'm struggling to empathize with those that like really care about me. I'm struggling to empathize because I'm just like, I already died before. I already know what's on the other side, and I was like, trust me, I choose the other side more than I choose Earth. And I
Wow.
just, yeah, yeah, trust me. I just literally am just like, l- so much love is on the other side. It's so beautiful. Like, it's just, I felt home, and on Earth, I feel like an alien. But when I was on the other side, like, I felt home. I didn't feel like an orphan anymore.
Hmm.
So I'm completely fine. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just looking forward to it. So, but I know that's kind of, sounding somewhat insensitive, and I do recognize that, and I do recognize that I have a different experience, So,
Yeah, it doesn't sound insensitive. It sounds
okay,
like
good,
you
because
it sounds like very embodied for you. You had the experience.
yes,
Um, you've had the experience, so you are not afraid of what's next. And you've
yes,
also seen the illusion of death, that
yes,
thing
illusion.
that
That's right, folks. We
mm,
are taught a very broken view of death, and
yes.
yeah, so I'm starting to use the word transition more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, like, I still say the word death sometimes just to like, um, speak the language that we were taught the most, but speak it in a way to where it's like recognize the transition part of it while also
Mhm,
like, validating like I get this is what we were all taught, though. We were all taught, like, just not all, but many of us were taught just death, Have you ever heard you got to speak the oppressor's language in order to, you know, unravel and provide understanding? Like, you got to speak that, like, language. So
mhm,
that's why, like, I say, like,
mhm.
death, and then I follow it up with transition.
Right. Right,
Yes,
right,
because
right.
I wasn't taught the word transition. I was taught death, and that this is what it means. Like da 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 da. It means this
Right.
limiting, broken view, and so um, that's why I'm really looking forward to it. I'm ready to go, but in these last 2 months that I might possibly have, um, it I feel more drawn, and I felt this before, but it was stronger because I had just died and experienced all that love and then came back. I got brought back to life. So, but anyways, but I've noticed ever since 2020, I've been on a decline of my just love towards humanity, and it served its purpose because I learned a lot. I learned how to set boundaries. I learned all this other great things. I really, really, really did. However, I also noticed that, like, as with the human experience, it's not always gonna be mm, like a pro can be a huge pro doesn't mean it's not going to have some type of con in some way, and not necessarily
Mhm.
like placing a label over it as if like, oh, pros and cons. Like, I'm just saying that to prove, to like make the point better, because I call it all an experience. Actually, like,
Mhm.
I'm trying to shift away from judging my experience as
Mhm.
good or bad and just saying an experience. I'm at that stage um where I
Yeah.
can say that, where, saying good or bad no longer serves me, but once upon a time it did.
Mhm.
It did.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I've just been lately just I'm just like doing my best to just pour out as much love to humans as I can before I leave, and I'm
Mhm.
just like, okay, 2 months left. Great. Okay, great. So let's just pour out all the love, just giving it all out. And
Yeah.
so I did not know until you said something. So thank you, Christian. I did not know, you know, the obstacles to love necessarily. Like, I didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
So I feel like I needed to hear that.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And, I'm thinking I wanna respond to that, but the
Yes.
thought that I had before that I wanna, like, feed back to you or mirror back to you. There's a poem by Hafiz, and I don't know that I'm gonna get it 100% correctly, but there's a phrase from it where he goes, "Darling, or darling, you are a divine elephant with amnesia, trying to live in an anthole." And it feels to me like after you had your first death experience, that it's been hard. Like you had such a huge experience of yourself as not limited, and then to come back into this little body, it must have been challenging.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it came with so many pros, but the con is I feel homesickness. I felt
Yeah.
homesickness. And yeah, fun thing you say, like the amnesia thingy. So no, I'm not gonna go there. Let me just, because that's a whole different conversation. I don't want to take away from your episode. Um
Well, let's just flow with it. Let's let it flow.
so when we
Um,
come to this earth, we come in with what's called a spiritual amnesia. So basically, we forget our past lives, we forget where we come from, we forget almost everything, because you wouldn't learn for a test if you knew all the answers, kind of
yeah,
thingy. Um,
yeah.
and so,
We yeah,
yeah,
yeah, we forgive who we really are.
yes, we
Um,
forget. Yeah.
and I do a lot of retreats on different themes, not only relationships or personal empowerment. I work with women around women's empowerment, life
Good.
purpose,
Yay.
but two constants that I always have. One is the breath work that we've mentioned a couple of times because I've yet to come across anything that heals emotional, psychological, spiritual trauma as quickly as it does. The other thing that I always teach is the ego, like understanding what the ego mind is, the sense of self, um, because that's what the forgetting is, right? And here's a great metaphor to understand that. If you put a baseball in the center of a stadium, that's what the ego is. And the word ego in Latin means I. So the ego is that sense of separate individual identity. This is Christian, that's Josiah's. Um, who we are is actually the stadium, and yet we've allowed this tiny 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 part of who we are to think that it is all of who we are, and to make really important consequential choices about our lives, about our relationships, from its very small, limited, and always fear-based perspective. So really important that we begin that process of disidentification with the baseball and begin to re-identify with the stadium. And it sounds to me like you've got a good head start in that department.
Oh yes, I did.
Hmm.
That's true. Yeah, I like that analogy. I like that for all the sports fans out there. That's amazing. Christian,
Mhm.
this has been a very beautiful episode. Three things. One, folks, I know I just dropped some heavy news. Um, Listen to episode 130, folks. I released it, I think, a week ago. And I talk about my near death experience and everything I experienced on the other side. And so I'll give you, some, what's on the other side, and hopefully that'll um I don't know, help in the grieving, because I know, like, I'm very just like, I'm ready to go. I'm so excited to go back home, but like, I there's people that really care about me and they don't want me to go. And so I'm just so perhaps episode 130 will provide comfort. Yes, like, so y'all go listen to episode 130. It's I talk about my near death experience, and it is just so 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 beautiful. And so yes, I want y'all to have that. Um because I am going to be ending the show soon. This is the second to last season, so season 8 is currently right now. Mind you, season 8 wasn't supposed to happen until next year. However, I had to change the scheduling, and so I cut season 7 short, which season 7 has 17 episodes, so it's really not short. I just was wanting it to be longer. So now we're in season 8. I'm cutting season 8 in half, so season 8 will have 10, 11 episodes, and then season 9, which will be coming out this month as well, will have about 9, 10 episodes. So, and that would be the final season, folks. So I am having to close up the show. It will still be out there, though. The show will still exist. They're just the new episodes. I'll tell you, folks, when it's about time to wrap up. I plan on wrapping up
Mm.
by September 10th, folks. So
And Josiah, we should also acknowledge that we don't really know,
we
right?
don't
We don't
know, but
really
I
know
am
that you're
hoping.
gonna be done in 2 months.
No, we don't know, but I am really hoping. I am really hoping. I'm ready to go back home. But so I did. So okay. So Christian. So I could just tell you that later. I'll tell you that later. That next part.
Okay.
But yes, Christian does have a good point. Things could change, but I'm really hoping it's go time. And I don't mean that in a suicidal way. I mean really, like, I miss home. I've been an orphan here for too long. I miss home. Um, I have family on the other side. I don't have family on Earth, so like I just I miss home. And I always
Mm,
knew as a kid, even before I die, like, I just had this deep knowing. And now I know why I had that deep knowing, because I got to learn why I had that deep knowing while I was on the other side. And that's what I call it, folks. Some people call it heaven. So I call it eternity, or the other side, because it is too vast, too beautiful to be limited to the realms
mhm.
of just heaven or something like that. But that's just
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
It's but yeah, I always knew that I wasn't going to be on Earth long. I just knew it, and now I know why. I got to see some things, and I got to learn some things. Let's just say that while I was on the other side, and yeah. So I knew I wasn't going to be on Earth long. I knew I was going to die before the age of 33. So
Mm,
that
wow.
started
You know,
happening.
and I'll say too, for anybody who's listening who might be struggling with this, or you know, maybe had another loved one transition recently, that I'll make myself available to speak with them. And if anybody, if you have the opportunity to do breath work, I cannot recommend it highly enough. And breathwork is a big umbrella term. Anybody who's gone to a yoga class has done breathwork, but I'm not talking about those shorter breathing practices and breathing techniques that are all great. But the type of breathwork that I find is really profoundly healing and transforming. It's about an hour and a half of breathing in a circular, connected way, and just amazing things happen. And it gives you, now that we've had the analogy, it gives you the possibility of having a glimpse of the stadium nature
Exactly.
and to witnessing the illusion of this realm and the illusion of death. And so, yeah, anybody, even if just email me and I'll see if I can track one close to where you live.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's beautiful. Okay, Christian,
Mm,
go ahead and send me any links that you want. Folks, check out Christian in the episode description below. Christian, because I'm going to release your episode tonight. So I'm going to, as soon as we hang up, I'm going to start downloading it and getting it ready. But send me your links because I want to be able to have your links
I
for
will.
the release. Yes.
And we'll stay in touch, Josiah.
Okay. Do you have an Instagram? I created an Instagram finally a week ago.
I
Or
do. I don't use it
oh, okay, never mind.
much. I use Facebook more, like, I'll check it,
Mm,
but I haven't been great about social media, and I know
that's
that
valid.
it's a good thing, but yeah, I'll send you my personal cell phone number too, and
Okay.
if I can assist in any way, that transition process, just please
Okay.
feel free to reach out.
Oh, wonderful. Muchas gracias. I
Mm,
appreciate that. Okay, yeah, so just send me that. Yeah, shoot it in an email or through, Podmatch. And yeah, well, folks, I like to end with a little challenge to you all. I don't even want to call it a challenge anymore. Oh, a little, a little, try the experience, folks. So tell somebody, one to two people, see, not too much, one to two people, yourself included, folks. Um, you can text it, FaceTime, call it, write down, send it in a letter, but tell one to two people that they are loved, that they are important. And boom, that might change someone's day, might change someone's week, might change someone's year. You never know what someone's going through, and they might not need to hear it now, but they might end up needing to hear it 2 weeks from now because you sent it today and they remember, you know what, I'm loved, I'm important.
yeah.
So I challenge you folks, or try that experience. Um, well, Christian, this has been absolutely fabulous. Christian, thank you for what you do. And folks, please check out Christian in the episode description below. And I will see y'all next episode for whatever that will be. Okay, bye, folks. Get on out of here.